Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to get my sub shout out of the way early doors, and it's a big one because we're closing in on 15,000 subs on the channel. I think it's going to happen over the next 48 hours or so. It would be amazing if it did. The target is to get to 15,000 before the start of next month, which happens to be the best month of the year, July. It's when my birthday is. Let's see if we can get over the line. If you're watching the channel and you've not yet subbed, please do it now. Help us get to 15k and I promise you a massive party around my gaff. Right, more transfer chat on the channel today. I feel like that's what everyone's kind of craving at the moment. The one good thing about having an absolute basket case of a football club that has been run terribly in terms of transfers over the last couple of seasons is that we're going to have a lot to talk about this summer because a lot of players are going to be leaving, some already have, and hopefully, touch wood, a lot of players are going to be coming in as well. We're going to build our Celtic team for next season on this video. It's going to be made up partially of players currently at the club who I feel can do a job for us next season. I think there's maybe 4 out of the 11 are those type, and the rest, which would be 7, are players that we haven't yet signed but have been linked with and that I think could make a very good impression at Celtic. Hopefully you kind of get what we're trying to do on this video. I should say there will be no Odsonne Edouard or Christopher Ayer included in this video other than just there because I don't think they're going to be around next season. Yes, very sad. Let's cue the intro and we'll get into this on the other side of this. Right, in the past, Ange Postecoglou has liked to play a 4-2-3-1. That is the formation that he predominantly played in his time in Japan. It was quite a kind of versatile hybrid system. So mainly 4-2-3-1. It did go into a 4-1-4-1. Just imagine that in your head, moving around wee circular objects on a wee pitch, I suppose, and also a 4-1-2-3 as well, but we're sticking with 4-2-3-1 for now. Usually with these things you start with the goalkeeper. That is what we're going to do. Matt Ryan is the guy who I think would make a very good choice to be Celtic goalkeeper. He's 29 years old. He's someone who Ange Postecoglou can rely on, having worked with him at international level with Australia. Now, I've said quite a lot on Matt Ryan in the past. You can check out one of our many recent transfer videos to find out the kind of latest situation with regards to where he's going to be playing his football next season, although the answer to that is that nobody really knows. Celtic are seemingly one of the teams that are interested in him. He's currently at Brighton. I think he's got another year left on his contract there. Arsenal, where he spent the second half of last season, are another potential destination for the coming campaign. I just get the feeling that if Postecoglou wants to sort the Celtic goalkeeping issue area and he wants to sort it with someone he can trust, Matt Ryan is just the obvious guy to come in. If you were to look at all the players Postecoglou has worked with in the past and to ponder which one could come into Celtic and do the best job, then I think Matt Ryan is the answer. Hopefully this is one Celtic are looking at. As I say, he's 29 years old, which is kind of peak years for a goalkeeper. Would certainly be able to give us a few years of service, and I think he'd be a pretty solid choice given that he's familiar with the British game and also European football. Celtic have been criticised a lot by fans, including this rather handsome one, of going for players that are seemingly quite easy, least line of resistance type stuff. See Eric Sviatchenko as a perfect example. See renewing the contract of Anthony Ralston as another perfect example. Not casting the net far and wide enough and going for stuff that's under our nose. Now, having said all that, George Baldwick is a name that has come up in the last 48 hours. He's a player we were linked with a couple of years ago when he was at Sheffield United. He is still there, but their status has changed from Premier League club to Championship club. Now, you would have to have been living under a rock for the last 12 months not to notice just how bad Sheffield United were last season. Just in case you were, this is a team who thought they could go into the English Premier League and survive relegation with Oliver McBurney and Oliver Burke as their two strikers. That is kind of all you really need to say. Chris Wilder has left Sheffield United. They've now got a new manager in Slavasa Jokanovic. Not quite sure how or where George Baldwick will fit into his plans, but it has been mooted in the press that Baldwick could now be back on Celtic's agenda. And given that Wilder has left the Blades and that Baldwick is now a Championship player, you wonder whether this one might happen this time. The caution is that he did sign a new contract with the Blades last year at some stage, so it may cost us a good few million to sign him. He's probably not the only right back we need either. We're probably going to have to bring in at least two in that position, even though we do have Leo Connor coming back to the club. But in terms of the first choice team, I think George Baldwick would make quite a bit of sense. Again, a bit like Matt Ryan, I think he could fit into things pretty easily. Right, centre backs. Yesterday I did a video on Mario Vuskovic. Check that out if you want to know every little thing about that wonderful, beautiful Croatian centre back who's hopefully going to sign at some stage over the next, I don't know, few days, maybe few weeks, knowing Celtic. The one thing I did raise as a wee issue about Vuskovic yesterday was that predominantly he likes to play on the right of a centre back pairing and actually turns into a winger on some occasions. Now, Chris Julian is also a right-sided player. Chris Ayer was the one who played on the left, so ideally we'd find a left-sided central defender, and we may just have done that in Ko Itakura, a 24-year-old Japanese defender currently contracted to Manchester City. Now, he spent the last 18 months on loan with Groningen in the Dutch Eredivisie, the side that we signed Virgil van Dijk from. So while Itakura isn't registered to them, they do have a decent track record of bringing up centre-backs over the last decade or so. He's your typical Japanese footballer. He is tidy on the ball. He reads the game really well. He's relatively quick. He has good balance. He doesn't really thunder into challenges, maybe like a British or a Scandinavian player would, but I really quite like the look of this guy. I've got him down as a centre-back here. That is his main position, but he can also play one up as a holding midfielder, which I think is quite an important thing as well. Postecoglou, I believe, knows him from his time in Japan. Obviously there's a Man City link as well to Celtic. We've had so many players coming from Man City over the last decade, so maybe this is another case of the media just putting two and two together and getting five, but I do feel like this is the kind of signing we should be looking to make. A centre-back pairing of Vuskovic and Itakura would be pretty good, I would suggest. Left back, Aaron Hickey, the 19-year-old Bologna fullback who has been linked with a move to Celtic in the past. We could have signed him a year ago for half the price from Hearts. We didn't for whatever reason. I guess that just sums up Celtic, to be honest. I've said this before, but I would rather Josh Doig. I think he's got more to his game, probably a bit more pace, probably a better final ball. He's maybe even better defensively than Aaron Hickey. I don't mean to slag Aaron Hickey off. I think he's a terrific talent. But if it was a straight shootout between the former Hearts man and the current Hibs man, I would be going for Josh Doig all day long. If we were to sign Aaron Hickey, it is worth pointing out that it would be quite an inexperienced backline. You'd have 19-year-old Hickey, you'd have 19-year-old Vuskovic, if that one goes through as well. If we sign Itakura, he's only 24. Who knows who you'd have at right back. It's not a particularly experienced backline, although we do know that Postecoglou doesn't really consider age important at all when he's picking his first team. He has that old saying that's completely gone from my mind. Yeah, if they're old enough, they're good enough, he says with a little bit of conviction. Yeah, I've just realised I've said that wrong. It's if they're good enough, they're old enough, isn't it? Right, so one Aaron in and we're adding another one. Has there ever been a team with more than one Aaron? Well, Celtic could be the side next year. Hello Aussie fans, thanks for tuning in. You'll be pleased to hear that I've got Aaron Moy in my proposed Celtic team for next season. Now, I am waiting in the comments, raining down from you wonderful people down under. He can play defensive mid. He can also play attacking mid, where I think he played a lot for Brighton and Huddersfield. But I also believe, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, that he can play centre mid as well. And that's where I've got Aaron Moy. I like the industry he'd bring to the team. He's actually quite similar, I think, to Callum McGregor. The way he plays, he has quality. a good final ball, a real good engine, can get stuck in as well, reads the game. Now, whether Moy and McGregor would be too similar to play together in the centre of midfield for Celtic, maybe something that Postecoglou would have to look at. But once again, it's a guy who knows the manager well. It's a guy who's in a bit of an uncomfortable position in China at the moment. I've said it before, but I think basically the players playing in the Chinese top flight now are confined to their hotel rooms and only allowed out for training and for matches. So hopefully that situation would convince Moy that a move to Scotland to reunite with a manager he knows well and a league that he knows well, used to play for St Mirren, of course, would be good and beneficial for all parties. He is 30 years old. It's not exactly old. Maybe a bit of experience is good, especially when Scott Brown has left the club in the summer. He's not a like-for-like replacement with Scott Brown, but yeah, there are similarities there. And of course, going in next to him is the wonderful Callum McGregor, probably the only bright spark from a Celtic point of view at the whole of Euro 2020, maybe until Jordan Larsson and Mikael Lustig jointly lift the trophy in Wembley in a couple of weeks. That'll probably age really badly. But yeah, Callum McGregor, he scored more goals than Kylian Mbappe and Alfredo Morelos combined at the Euros. Wow. Right, we're going for the three behind the striker now, and I either got really lazy here and couldn't be bothered thinking of potential signings, or this is the strongest part of Celtic's team from last season, because in order we've got James Forrest on the right, we've got David Turnbull in the middle, and on the left we've got, no, in fact we'll come to that in a wee second, I'll get a bit of anticipation going for that. James Forrest, he scores basically a goal every 3 games. That is his record for Celtic over the last 3 or 4 seasons. He assists a goal basically 1 every 2.5 games. Again, a pretty good record. That is what we missed last season. History tells us that James Forrest will be an important player for Ange Postecoglou. The reason I say that is that every Celtic manager that James Forrest has worked under has absolutely loved him. Think about it. Neil Lennon, Ronnie Dyler, Brendan Rodgers, Neil Lennon again. All of those managers gave James Forrest loads of game time. I don't know what he does in training. Maybe it's just that he's a wonderful, wonderful guy, which he is. But I see no reason why Postecoglou wouldn't feel the same about James Forrest. I think he'll be a number 1 right winger. We definitely need competition for him next season, but I think he'll be a number 1 right winger. David Turnbull scored 8 goals in 25 league starts for Celtic last season. Can you just imagine how good he will be in an actual team? And on the left, Mohamed El Yunusi. Now, I know it's probably very unlikely. Again, maybe I just got lazy in my pre-video work, but it's nice to dream, isn't it? And we get to striker, and I drew a bit of a blank with this one. Charlie Wyke is obviously a player we've been linked with. I'm not against the signing of Wyke, but is he really a guy to lead the line for Celtic next season and replace Odsonne Edouard? There are also names like Aaron Bupenza and Jean-Pierre Nsame, who are great strikers and would do great things for Celtic, but are they really going to come? Is it genuine interest, or is it just paper talk? I certainly think it's more the latter there. So I'm going to go with a player, and let me get the caveat in that I'm not saying this guy is Edouard quality, and I'm not saying he should be the replacement for Odsonne Edouard. But I'm going for Kevin Nisbet. I think Kevin Nisbet would bring a lot of quality to Celtic this season. He scored 14 goals in 28 league starts for Hibs last season. By the way, that was his first season in the Scottish Premiership. Can you imagine what he would do in a team who create probably twice as many chances? He's a name that I think Celtic fans are quite excited by. It helps that he was playing for Scotland in the Euros. He obviously scored in one of the pre-tournament games against the Netherlands. He's also, I think, been on holiday with some Celtic players. He seems to have a real affection for James Forrest, and I think also he was revealed to have been a former Celtic youth player by Chris McCart in a recent Celtic View interview. So they all seem to be kind of falling into place there. I would love to sign Kevin Nisbet. I think he could be a brilliant player for us. I said that he'd be an ideal replacement for Lee Griffiths. Obviously, it seems like Griffiths is going to be sticking around. Hopefully that doesn't ruin our chances of signing Nisbet, because we could probably get him for 3.5 million, which nowadays is a pretty good return. So that's what my team looks like. Let us know below whether you think any of those players are going to come. Obviously, there'll be far more Celtic rumours coming out between now and, well, whenever we reconvene to do another one of these videos. But as I said at the start of the video, it is just a little bit exciting, isn't it? I mean, you can be as doom and gloom as you want about our prospects for next season, but it is exciting looking at all these players that could come to Celtic. We're going to have reports coming out probably every day for the next month or so, if not longer, about players Celtic could be looking to sign. And then obviously we're going to officially sign players, I hope, at some stage in the very near future.